Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and tonight I want to talk about the mainstream media bias. And it is very important because I've watched, and social media as well, include social media. So I'm going to title this video, the mainstream media and social media bias, particularly coming from the left. Now, let me start off by saying this. I was looking at the other browser. It's no longer Internet Explorer, Netscape Navigator. And I saw this Real Clear Politics poll. And I want you all to listen to me closely. The Real Clear Politics poll said that the Democrats, which I don't believe it, are favored to win the 2026 midterms, which is, in my humble opinion, fake. And I want you to understand that we're close to a year from the midterms. So you are going to see a lot of polls. You're going to see a lot of bantering, particularly with the mainstream media. Now, when I look at polls, I look at where they get the samples from. How large is the sample? And who's delivering the polls? Last year, when Trump was running and Kamala Harris got into the race after the Democrats took Joe Biden out of the race, well, every poll kept on saying that Trump and Kamala Harris were tied. Now, of course, I never believed it. But see, the media generated enough noise from low information voters to preclude that Harris was as good as Trump when it came to presidential candidates. Now, one must remember the Democrats never said anything about primaries, because basically, I already know why that took place. Because had the Democrats had a primary last year, that money that was for the Biden camp, that would have had to shift toward another Democrat. And you know, with the Democrats, in order to get elected, you have to have a heck of a lot of delegates. It's at 2,500. With the Republicans, you need maybe 1,100. Democrats, you need about 2,500 in that range. But see, the media, they did a job. And when I talk about media too, I'm going to also include, so I'm probably going to do this. I'm just going to call this the 5 power conferences of society, because this is where the left is putting in their spin. I mean, you have a lot of hate in the black church with this Charlie Kirk ordeal. And you know, a number of black people, they didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was. I did. I followed him from Brandon Tatum, Candace Owens. You know, Candace Owens, she's trying to get to the bottom of what really happened to Charlie Kirk. But if you go back, the media isn't really saying anything about what happened to Trump when he was campaigning. 2 attempts with his life. Now, something to tell you, you know, the individual that tried to take out Trump second time, you know, he tried to kill himself. He tried to check himself out. That's right. And see, you're not going to hear this on mainstream media. And you know, the mainstream media, how they spun this Charlie Kirk story They thought that this individual was a MAGA individual, which I knew he wasn't. He got his information from college. This is why I always tell you college is a very dangerous place to be. And then I hear a number of black women out here, again, talking about they are the most educated. Well, determine to me what is educated. Just because you go to school, and I'm going to put it this way, this is going to be on a lower level. If I go through all 4 years of high school and I get a high school diploma as a black man, and you as a black woman, you go through all 4 years of high school and get a high school diploma. Does that make you educated? No, it doesn't make you educated. You got individuals who come out of high school dumb as hell. You got them coming out of college dumb as hell. See, the media spun everything, particularly with DEI, while putting black women out in front. But you know what Malcolm X said? You know, you have the white conservatives and the white liberals. They both want to use black people, in my humble opinion. But see, what the white liberal tries to do is they try to become allies and friends with black people, like the Al Sharptons, you name it. And if you are black, the white liberals trying to tell you how to be black. You have the white liberals out there. I know I was in Maryland, and Maryland is run by Democrats, and he had the Speaker of the House. And this is when Michael Steele was a real Republican before he became a rhino on MSNBC. He was called Uncle Tom because he was the lieutenant governor and Bob Ehrlich was the governor back in 2002 to 2006. I know this is when I lived in Maryland and I voted for Bob Ehrlich. Bob Ehrlich was my congressman. But see, the mainstream media is not telling you a lot. See, the mainstream media is putting on lies. And you have your colleges. And not only are your colleges indoctrinating children, but your high schools, your middle schools, and your elementary schools. You have individuals out here who don't even know who Charlie Kirk was, and they're talking shit about Charlie Kirk. Especially black people, people like Jamal Bryant. Now, Jamal Bryant is a sucker ass nigga because he's a pastor, and I don't like too many of these black pastors. The only one that I can see right now, shout out to Pastor Dow, Geno Jennings is all right. A lot of these black pastors, they're racist and they're haters, and they basically pander to the women. They act like they're pro-black. They act like they know what's going on, and they don't know anything. They're haters. I'm going to tell you something. The black church is where most of the demonization is. Black Christians, black Christian women, they are your worst. They're your feminist women. I know. I was involved with some in conversation. The bottom line with black Christian women is they try to throw that Bible at you. But these are the ones sitting on panels at all of these liberal networks thinking that they can talk you to death by being brainwashed with their bullshit education that they have. However, if you look at how things are turning out with this Charlie Kirk deal, I'm even hearing, well, was the gun a 30-06? Was it a 30-30? Was it a sniper? I know it sounded suppressed. I've shot firearms before. Was that shot meant for the head? Was it, there are a lot of issues that haven't been solved with this case. And see, the Democrats don't want to deal with it. And for real clear politics, they were polling last year and they were wrong in their polls and they're going to be wrong again. Who's going to choose a party that advocates violence? And let me tell you something too. This is where the Democrats or the leftist media, they talk about fascism, Nazism, free speech. Well, you know, most of your MSNBC, I still call it MSNBC. It's going to be MS now. They're trying to piggyback off of Newsmax's logo, but look, you can change the name, but the environment is still the same. It's a liberal network. CNN. CNN may have, you know, Kevin O'Leary, he's the business guy, or Scott Jennings. But basically, these individuals don't want free speech. And I just have this belief, okay? Fallon, Jimmy Fallon. Well, he's back on air. However, when it comes to Sinclair, he's not going to be on those television stations. And it's not that he was just a leftist. People weren't watching Jimmy Fallon. And all he was Trump this, Trump that. Same with Gobert. And see, the liberals, you don't see anybody who's conservative on Jimmy Fallon's show or Stephen Colbert's show, The View. Now you have individuals who fake like they're liberal, conservatives, but they're not. So if you really think about it, who's really canceling out free speech? With the mainstream media, with the colleges. You have a number of colleges that don't like conservative thinking. In fact, if you're a conservative person, particularly a male, and you're in a women's studies class, you got to keep your head down and take the bullshit that's thrown at you because your grade's going to suffer. This is how colleges work. And see, what you don't have in college is really freedom of speech. And see, what Turning Point did, as well over 37,000 chapters, Turning Point was a place for college students who were conservative minded to have a voice. But it still didn't mean anything because the five power conferences of society, your government, your jobs, the media, religion, and education, they're all dominated by leftists. And when I hear the leftists spew out fascism, and they're trying to make out like this Tyler Robinson, because he came from a conservative Republican family in Utah, that he was MAGA. No, he wasn't MAGA. When he was writing on bullets, just like the other trans kid did, fascism. In fact, the other trans kid that went into that church in Minneapolis and shot a bunch of people, particularly children, he had a bullet to take out Trump. And if you really look at it, the mainstream media really didn't talk much about that. But you see what happened when we talk about canceling? See, the mainstream media is up in arms because a number of these individuals that were dancing on Charlie Kirk's grave got fired from their jobs. And they're saying, cancel culture, cancel culture. But remember, if we go back to 2020, people who had conservative thinking, and that's including the president of the United States, when Jack Dorsey, he was the CEO of then Twitter, Joe Biden, and it's already out. Mark Zuckerberg said the Biden administration had Mark Zuckerberg delete conservative content. And I know the same thing happened, particularly how are you going to alleviate the president of the United States off of then Twitter? Was that not cancel culture? See, the liberal Democrats, because of the media, all of a sudden they have selective memory. But we remember back in 2020. In fact, all through the Joe Biden era, it's cancel culture. We had to manipulate everything we said, particularly during the COVID. I know I had a couple of videos struck down. And guess where I got the information from? CNN. Dr. Fauci. But see, the media isn't going to call their own out. And again, for Black people, many of you, because there was one woman who was saying homeboy got taken out. Well, she got expelled from college. And it's not good when you get expelled from college because she's in lights. Old Keisha was in lights. So if she tries to apply to go to another college, she's already been on TV. She's not going to be able to get into college. Now, if you really think about it, if the shoe were on the other foot, the Democrats would have done the same thing. It's like this redistricting. Well, the Democrats have been doing it for years, and they forget they've been doing it. But the reason why the Democrats are having an issue, because the media is putting it out there like it's the Republicans, the only ones who are doing it. And the colleges are putting it out there as well. And all of your social media left-wing influencers, particularly on TikTok, because most of your doofuses are on TikTok. These are individuals who are rejects. They don't know anything about politics. They don't know anything about what's going on in the world. And they just have a bullshit opinion that they spew out to try to make themselves be important. And let me tell you something. All opinions don't mean anything. If you cannot back your opinion up with some type of research, and then you have to be careful with what you research because you have a number of individuals who go on these mainstream media outfits. They don't do any research. It's just a hate Trump fest. But it's kind of funny. When Trump was a Democrat, these same people, and they're Black as well, and the Black pastors, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Oprah, oh, they liked Trump then. They had no problems with Trump. But now that he has run for president twice or three times and has made it twice, now the belief isn't so good now. Now he's a fascist. He's a Nazi. And see, when you hear that on a college campus and you hear that in the mainstream media every day, you have these young kids out there, and you know they're dumb as shit. They don't know anything about the real world, but they have been indoctrinated. College is nothing more than a money fest and an indoctrination fest. And that's why I am so glad that part of the Department of Education is cut. Now, what I would do with these colleges, I would just cut the funding. Cut all the funding off. Where the college would have to fund itself by privatization. And what would happen? The tuition would go up higher because at a private school, college is more expensive. And to get in a college that's more expensive, not only do you have to have high dollars, but you have to have high grades. And then what you're not hearing in the media is some of the loan forgiveness that Biden put out. That's cut. And bottom line is, as a taxpayer, tax money goes to subsidize the public schools. And see, the Democrats, the media, the mainstream media is not going to tell you about school choice. See, the mainstream media breeds slavery. The bottom line, when you sit back and you look at everything. You got a number of individuals, you got a number of white people who didn't even know about Charlie Kirk. They didn't even know anything about his podcast. They didn't even listen to his podcast. And here's what the mainstream media does. And this is where you all need to put on your thinking caps. And I know you might see the conservatives do the same thing, but not as much. But a lot of the mainstream media, they may play a 20-second clip and people run with it. No, play the whole clip. Let me give you an example. When Trump was running and you had Antifa and then you had some white supremacist group, they were going at it in Charlottesville, Virginia. Trump said, here's where the clip stopped. Let's call them sound bites back then. Trump said there were good people on both sides. Well, the media ran with that. But if they had listened to the whole video, he said there were good people on both sides, and I do not condone white supremacy, white supremacist groups. That's exactly what he said. And then you have all this about January 6th that the mainstream media, they keep bringing that up. But you know, a number of individuals who were part of January 6th was integrated with Antifa people. But see, what they did, they hid inside of the Trump people. And you look what happened to the Trump people. They went to jail. Now, the FBI should be looking into more of what happened when Trump was running for office and a bullet nearly took his head off. And they need to look at this Charlie Kirk incident. See, one thing you're not going to get with the mainstream media is the truth. This is why I don't trust it. And when it comes to polls, like Real Clear Politics, and see what Real Clear Politics does as a poll, they know how to manipulate the data. See, they could have a poll and they could oversample Democrats, and then they will take a poll that's a month old and use it. And because you have people who are so stupid who don't do any type of research, they will go along with what the mainstream media says and with their college professors and with some of these pastors, particularly in the black church. And like I said, I've already said the black church was a monument of failure anyway. This is why I don't go, and black men, stay away from these churches. The churches are filled with Satan. They're not preaching the Bible. They're telling you what they want you to hear. And all the preacher is doing, he's fucking all the women in there. That's all he's doing. Telling them what they want to hear. And then you had people like he passed away, Bishop Eddie Long. But you know, there was another preacher, and he was a Catholic priest in the state of Maryland. He bent over a boy. And I remember back in 2004, Catholic guy. Now the boy got the payback, shot the priest. But nothing happened to this priest. Nothing. I don't believe anything happened. And then you hear the blacks come out, Trayvon Martin. Now, Freddie Gray. Then you had Walter Scott. He was a guy that was running, didn't pay his child support. Then you had another joker in Atlanta. He took the taser away from the police, tried to shoot the police. Police were talking to him calmly. He ended up getting killed. You see, a number of these individuals got killed, black people, because they were arguing with the police. Now, don't get me wrong. The incident that happened were black police officers, and I was one of the first ones to report on this a couple years ago in Memphis, Tennessee. They hijacked that black fella, killed him. The mainstream media didn't play with that. Why? Because the individuals were black. And something else. They talked about, the mainstream media talked about George Floyd, what happened to him. But they didn't talk about the white guy that was killed by the police in Dallas. They didn't talk about that. They didn't talk about the white guy that was shot by police in Arizona. And see, I remember all this because I watched the news. And see, the media and in colleges, what they're doing is they're creating little drones, little zombies, individuals who can't think for themselves. And if you really look at what the Democrats and what the left wingers are talking about, who are the real fascists? You got these militant trans individuals out there. Now, I'm like this. I have nothing against the alphabet community. You do what you want to do. However, if you are hating somebody because they're heterosexual, that's on you. That's the problem. A lot of your hate is coming from the left. And why is it coming from the left? Well, when you can't get your way, you're gonna go out of control. This is why you have a lot of Keishas and a lot of Karens out here. You have individuals who do not know how to control themselves, weak-minded people. And see, that's what the left creates. They allow a number of black women to get on TV to tell you how educated they are, and they're not educated. You look at a lot of them who are losing their jobs. And see, most of the black women, they had all the government positions. They were paper pushers, especially when it came to working for the feds. A number of them worked for the state and local government as well. And it was very hard for black men to get into the government. And this is why a number of black women, because the white liberals put black women on the front line to divide the black community by putting all that rhetoric in the black women. And then you have a number of these colleges and a number of these churches and a number of these media outfits putting all kinds of bullshit in the black woman's head. But I don't take it for granted. But you have a number of soft men as well. These pastors, these Creflo Dollar. Now I went in on a black church as well. The black church has long been dead. The black church is full of hate. The black church is hating Charlie Kirk. But you know what I don't see the black church doing? I don't see a lot of these black pastors going into the hood, talking to the brothers in the hood. And I know whites kill each other too, but I'm talking about blacks right now. I don't want to hear, well, white people do it too. I don't care about that right now. But I don't see your black preachers going into the hood, talking to these black men. I don't hear a number of you saying, well, we need a good male role model. None of them are doing it because they're not about black men. They're about getting the money from the women, and they're manipulating the women so they can get in these women's pants. What's not told is you have a number of preachers out here, black pastors out here, who have had adulterous affairs with their church members, and they've gotten them pregnant. You look at Elijah Muhammad. He did the same thing. And who deleted Malcolm X? The Nation of Islam. Now, did the government have something to do with that? It probably did. Did the government have something to do with Kennedy? Now, there's another question. Did the government have anything to do with the deletion of Charlie occur? Those are questions that need to be asked. And see, Real Clear Politics, Newsweek, you're putting that bullshit out there about the Democrats winning. Nobody's going to vote Democrats. And by the way, I'm going to debunk that right now. You have a lot of states where Democrats are coming over to the Republican side, and more individuals are registering Republican than they did Democrats, than they were Democrats. Why? Because the Democrats, they're nothing more than a bunch of communists, socialists. I mean, you got people like Donnie. You're going to let him run. And yet, Cuomo is going to run as an independent. Now, the black people are going to vote for Cuomo. Now, I'm not too high on Cuomo either, but he got in some shit with some sexual misconduct. That's why he had to step down as governor. But you look at the governor that they have in New York. And you look at DEI. Now, we're talking about black women. Look at DEI. Look what it's done, because mainly white women have benefited off of it. Well, the company I work for now, Atlas, they got a woman CEO. Now, I checked her credentials out. She's qualified. You got some that are qualified. But yet Cracker Barrel. I looked at Cracker Barrel, their leadership. It's all women. Liberal women. Liberal women who probably drink their lattes at Starbucks wanted to go to a restaurant and change it. Now, what she needed to do was put some better food in there instead of trying to change the landscape. But you look what happened to Cracker Barrel. You had a number of individuals at Cracker Barrel. They rose up because Cracker Barrel was losing money. And see, that's what's going on with Jimmy Fallon. And that's really what's going on with Colbert. I remember when Colbert was on cable. See, Colbert took over for David Letterman. Shout out to David Letterman, Ball State graduate here in the state of Indiana, Muncie, Indiana. David Letterman Hall, named right after him. Shout out to Larry Bird. You don't hear much about Larry Bird. Another Indiana great. Played for the Boston Celtics. Won championships. He and Magic Johnson battled each other. But the bottom line is, I watched some shows. Like I watched Little Chicago Fire. And I see a little wokeness in Chicago Fire. I see that the women are trying to run everything. They have the women who are officers telling men what to do. And this is what's going on TV as well. Queen Latifah trying to be the equalizer. They're putting women in the forefront, trying to make it look like women can run something. Most women can't even run their lives because they're not made to be in positions of power. They're made to be support. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, but most of them can't because they don't take responsibility. And too many women are very delusional, very emotional, and many of them have arrested development. But see, what's really going on out here, and I brought it up a long time ago, a number of individuals who are normal looking, they're working in the media. They're in colleges. They're at your churches. A lot of these pastors are doing nothing but making money. And why do they have a lot of women? Well, pastors have a lot of women, so they have a lot of fruit they can pick from, because particularly in the black church, black women will get upset even if she's married. And you start talking about her pastor. And you know what used to happen in the black community? Back in the days when the Black Panthers were in power, the black woman used to, if something happened in the household, she used to call the Black Panthers to come beat up her husband. So she's really never, I'm not saying all of them, but a number of black women have never had respect for a black man. We all know that. And they still don't, a number of them. And you look at who's out of work now. See, they were laughing at the black men in the late 90s and the early 2000s when the black man was out of work. All you niggas were in jail. Now, I'm going to say this is one stat that is not correct. And black women rode with it. Well, 50% of you niggas were in jail. Well, how could 50% of us be in jail when we make up only 13% of the country? So you're going to say, you're saying all black men are in jail. That's 50%. It was like 5%. But if you really want to know who's in jail, mostly it's white men. You got more white men in jail. You really have more white crime. But see, the problem is the media, what they do, yeah, they'll tell you about the shootings, the black on black crime, but the media is not going to do anything about it. Why? Because the media doesn't care about black people, particularly black men. And a lot of these black women who are mothers don't care about black men either. They'd rather them, we talk about abortion. Well, you don't need abortion when black men are killing themselves, killing each other, gangsters out here. Now, of course, the media was spinning everything out of control, putting ignorant black men on television. Well, you come to Chicago and see what happens. So you a gangster. You don't know how to shoot a gun. You don't even know how to clean a gun. You don't even know what kind of gun you're shooting. And the gun you got is illegal, but you're going to go against something well established, particularly by white men, and that's the military. See, the thing about black people don't have any power. And they vote Democrat, they allow the white liberal to use them. And when they allow the white liberal to use them, that puts black people, and I tell you, the worst people who treated me wrong, and you can call me Uncle Tom or anything you want. And even you hear the word tether out there. Tether was a Tariq Nasheed movement, FBA movement. That's generally, a tether is another foundational black American who calls blacks who aren't from this nation, they're still black, but they don't consider them black because they're not American blacks. Their culture is different, but they consider the blacks also that they don't agree with tethers. Bottom line is, with black people, there's a name for somebody who doesn't want to be on a plantation. Call them Uncle Tom, Uncle Rutgers, Coon. When in essence, the ones who are the real coons are on a plantation. And in fact, bottom line, if black men had been a little smarter then, and there were some of them who were, some of the field niggas did. You don't hear this, but some of them did take down the masters. And you know what? This is not said either. Anthony Johnson, he and there were some other black slaves in the 1600s, black slave owners. In fact, if you think about it, the media is not telling you this. And see, the media and education, I was always told when it came to black leadership, Martin Luther King. When I was in high school, didn't even know anything about Malcolm X, didn't know anything about Marcus Garvey, didn't even know anything about a number of blacks who did anything out here, but we've always talked about Martin Luther King. Why? Because Martin Luther King really wasn't a fighter. And he was picked by the white folks. Now, Martin Luther King had a communist group called the Poor People's Campaign. I did a video on it. Now, So you understand this, the Poor People's Campaign is where Black Lives Matter, those three lesbian women, they actually got their information from the Poor People's Campaign. Anti-family, anti-male, to Marxists. And see, basically, all these colleges, all these churches, your mainstream media, the jobs, because of DEI, also because of the government, they're all promoting Marxism. You know, Karl Marx didn't care very much about his own children. See, Karl Marx believed that the workers should control everything. There shouldn't be any ownership. So, if you really think about it, the workers outnumbered the leadership, but since there was no structure, really, Marxism was another form of chaos. But you're over here talking about fascism, fascism. There is no fascism. Donald Trump is not a dictator. There's no way he could be a dictator. Donald Trump has to follow laws as well. It's just that the Democrats, they're your real dictators. But the bottom line is, since the shoe is on their foot, because they're used to being the ones who are canceling everything out, trying to change the language in the dictionary, trying to change the pronouns. That's the Democrats. All that is left wing. You know, I watched a number of Tyler Perry movies. Gay men, humping and bumping, women in power. It's see what it is with the Democrats. They live in an upside down society where they have a lot of matriarchy. And this is what's wrong with a number of men. A number of men are very, very soft. And see, with female domination, it's made a lot of men very lazy. No innovation, no get up and go. But see, all the programs go to women, even though women don't work as hard as a number of men, they'll go and use the program. Women are subsidized in this country. See, the mainstream media is not going to tell you that, but what they will put out is, well, we're making 77 cents on the dollar as every man. Bullshit. A number of these young women who are coming out of college are making a lot more money than the men because women are more encouraged. That's the problem. But see, here's the thing. Because a lot of college programs are getting cut, more and more women are going to be cut out of the workforce. Because as I told you about black women working for the government, black women making up 12 to 15% of the federal workforce. Well, white women make up even a greater number. You have a lot more women who work for the government. And I can prove it to you. Because even when I go into the local government, see the number of women. Now you have men. Where do the men work in local government? Particularly your black men. Well, black men they're working out there doing some labor work, filling potholes and shit, dumping garbage. They're doing all the labor work. Number of women got the clean jobs. I know. I worked for the city of Indianapolis. I used to work in DPW. Heck, there wasn't hardly any blacks, except for me and had another co-worker in DPW. Well, now that's working in the construction unit. But if you go into the operations unit here in the city of Indianapolis or any other major city, all the blacks are doing. They're the ones doing all the hard work. They're not doing all the brain work. They're not. It's a fact. But the issue, you have a number of individuals who look at television And they always tell you, well, we're not doing any research. Well, first of all, you don't hear anybody, going back. And I'll tell you some other lefties out there. What was her name? Angela Davis. There was another black woman who killed a New Jersey trooper. And she escaped. She's in Cuba. She's not coming back because she'll get hanged. Something. Well, he was a professor in Chicago. Bet you guys have never heard this, unless you're from Chicago. Weather Underground, Bill Ayers, leftists. See, the left, and what the media is doing, they're making the right out here to be the violent ones. Because they thought, because this Tyler Robertson came from a family. And I remember when that came out. Oh, well, he's a Trump supporter. And they hadn't even had all the evidence out. Again, they hadn't had all of the evidence out. And they found out that he went to Utah State University, got indoctrinated by leftist propaganda. And see, to me, if you can get indoctrinated by propaganda, then you're a weak-minded person. And let me tell you how I know this. You look at a lot of these cults out here, David Koresh, Jim Jones, a number of people who thought they were God. They weren't God. They put people in a situation where they couldn't get out of. It's because individuals were weak-minded people. Again, I'm delivering this information right off the top of my dome because I know what's going on out here. I look at left-wing papers, because even though you're not getting the print, that Washington Post, New York Times, Newsweek, Real Clear Politics, it's still out there. But see, what's really made everything worse today, and I'm going to say this, it's social media. Because you have a number of individuals on social media. They live their lives through social media. Many of them are socially awkward. And I know I had my experience with them as well. A number of these dating sites out here, even when they were on the computer or in the paper. Well, when you're not actually getting out there to have a conversation with someone, many individuals don't know how to converse with each other because they're hiding behind a keyboard and they become socially awkward. They don't get out here in the real world and interact with people. And social media, from Facebook, X, and the real ones are Twitter. Many people just don't know how to. MySpace was the first one out there. Now, MySpace is still around there. I believe Justin Timberlake has his hand in MySpace, but you have a number of individuals who hide behind that social media. And that social media is basically putting individuals in place to become these terrorists out here. Now, I will tell you something. The media really isn't reporting on this either. During the time that Charlie Kirk was taken out, there was also a shooting in Colorado that same day. And then prior to that, that white woman in Charlotte. And then prior to that, black woman in Bowie, Maryland. This basically happened during the same week. But see, the media spun everything regarding Charlie Kirk by saying, oh, he's a racist, he's a homophobe. Okay, he may have had some extreme views. Look, Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes, they have some views. out of this world. Look, Alex Jones did. And Alex Jones was taken off of social media. Now, something too, I read something that all of the conservative material accounts that were taken off of YouTube, they're going to be put back up. Because if you're going to have free speech, now here's the difference now. And this is what the media is not telling you. Free speech is as per government. But see, now when it comes to your job, you have consequences. And see, you have companies out here who have a reputation. And a number of these companies, they do not want their reputation tainted. And I just want to caution everybody. When you get a job, and I know a number of individuals don't do it, and the media is not telling you to do it either. Read the policy. Because I guarantee there's something in the policy about social media. And if you are an employee, and this is what happened. Now, I don't like anybody losing their job because I know I lost mine. I was out of work for 6 weeks. Bottom line is this. When you get terminated from your position and you have a viral video out there, no matter how good your work experience is, your performance is, because your face is out there, you're doomed. It's just like they had a psychologist, a black woman psychologist, talking bad about black men. She got taken down, lost everything. And see, it's funny when these Democrats were on the side of canceling people, they showed no shame. Now they expect the individuals on the right, eye for an eye. And what you have to do with some of these leftists, I don't like to see anybody get canceled, but the leftists, they're still getting over. Because what I don't see, and I'm hoping Trump does this, just like the Biden camp, they put the people of J6 in jail. Trump needs to go put some of these individuals October 7th, lock them up. You need to start locking some people up there from these groups, these militant trans groups. Lock them up. Throw away the key. That's what I want to see. Because if you lock them up, now, of course, you locked all these individuals up in D.C., cost the taxpayers to house them and feed them. Now, I know the Democrats are going to repeat the same thing, but the Democrats, the leftists need to feel the pain because they've been getting away with everything since the 60s, and everybody knows it. And I'm going to tell you this. This is how I can prove where the mainstream media is. If a MAGA supporter had put a bullet in Jasmine Crockett, or one of these white liberal professors out there. Now there was, but there wasn't much coverage on it. But there were 2 state representatives in Minnesota that were deleted as well. But they tried to say a Republican did it. No, it was a Democrat who did it. And see, Democrats will eat their own. Now there was another, and I can't remember her name. I don't know if it was a Republican, but she got shot in the head in Arizona. Now, somebody in the comment section let me know who it is. I don't remember her name, but she was a House member. But you know what? The media didn't give much coverage on Steve Scalise at a basketball game. 55 to 60-year-old man shot a few Republicans out there. They lived. Steve Scalise was one of them. I believe Steve Scalise is from Louisiana. Nobody talks about that. Bottom line is this. It's a Democrat who picked up the gun. And now the Democrats, gun control, gun control. Well, first of all, again, that gun doesn't kill people. People pick up the gun to use it. It's just like have a collection of swords. Well, if I take somebody's head off with one of those swords, that sword didn't kill anybody. I used the sword as a weapon to make it easier to kill somebody. But do we need sword control, knife control? Because you have a number of other crimes that are taking place out here that aren't even gun related. You have individuals throwing hot water on somebody. You have individuals throwing hot grease, drowning people. We need to see this is what the Democrats want: gun control, gun control. See, let me tell you, Democrats something. Are you going to take the guns out of the criminals' hands? Hell no, you're not, because the criminals will have even more power. Why? Because they now have a defenseless society. That's the purpose of the Second Amendment. Now, see, the Democrats want all the protection for themselves. However, they don't want anyone else to have protection. And see what they want, if you really think about it, with your churches, with your jobs, all this diversity, it's all fake diversity. That's all it is. They're basically putting people in positions of power just because they're a certain race, they're a certain gender, to make everybody feel good. But it doesn't mean that you have a cohesive workforce. You leave some people out. That's the same way with some of these colleges, some of these jobs. Well, for the most part, that has gone away, but it's still some companies that do DEI. Now, I don't have a problem with diversity as long as the person is qualified, but I don't want to be put in a position because of my race. I want to be put in a position because I know the job. And as a black man, we're last on the list. This is why black men talking about DEI. Well, even with DEI, how many black men have been out of work? How many black men have been in prison? See, we never talk about that in the media. We never talk about, well, you have a number of black men who've come from unstable environments. No structure. And see, because the white liberal, they want to keep black people on a plantation. It's a political football out there. And just like I said earlier, it's white liberals, particularly white liberal women. And I will blame that on the white man, because a white man can't, they're talking about black men can't control black women. Well, the white man has let his woman run amok. And then that is spread into some of the Hispanics, because Hispanic men, some of their women, they'll act up. But some of these other men, they're not going to go for that. And this is really why you had the big turnout. See, and if you really look at everything, I'm just going to tell you this right now. All this bullshit out here, this diversity, this feel good, is putting women in positions of power, television, telling women you can be anything that you want to be. It's all bullshit. Everybody can't be everything. Everybody's not going to be a millionaire. You gotta start telling people that, man, you're not about shit where you're going. Because you got some individuals that don't want to be about shit. But see, you have the mainstream media, college, church, jobs, the government spewing out lies every day. And a lot of people live the lies. And they wonder why they're disappointed in the end. Because you have individuals out here who aren't forthright themselves. And this is why today you have a society of men out here. Because if you really put this puzzle together, it's all about destroying masculinity. Why you watch these TV shows where you got chicks kicking men's ass, but you know that's not going to happen too much in the real world. But you have women, they think they can do that. I've seen a number of videos. Now, of course, you have some weak black men. And see, when you're a weak black man and you get these masculine black women, these masculine black women, they'll go beat up one nigga. They think they can beat every nigga up. And what happened is the proxy violence, they'll go get their brothers, which you saw that incident that happened in Detroit. Woman was talking smack to the baby daddy. She went and got her brothers. But the baby daddy shot both the brothers. So that mother that day started out with 3 kids and had to bury 2 of them in Detroit. You don't hear the mainstream media talking about that. Now you might get it on a local level. But see, the mainstream media broadcasts what they want to broadcast. Mainstream media is very powerful. When you have the Disneys out here, they own everything. And you have a number of individuals out here who are anti-Semitic, but you have a number of you Jewish people who are also liberal. That's right. People aren't saying that. You have a number of individuals out here with mental disorders, delusion. To me, delusion is mental to me. You got a number of people who are schizophrenic out here. Now, I'm one of the ones who talked about mental issues. You go back to 2017, 2018, before I put my red pill content out in November of 2018, and I'm one of the only ones who actually talks about sexual deviance. Go back. I'm one of the only ones. I talked about hysterophilia. Does anybody know what hysterophilia is? That's a love for a murderer. And you have some women who love guys in jail. You have that now. And they're infatuated by murderers. You have a number of individuals out here with the princess syndrome. I'm the one that also talked about the son husband way back. Some people think they covered. No, I covered it. It's just that my channel is small, and because it's small, I don't have the audience that the bigger channels have. So the bigger channels are going to claim that they talked about it first. No, I talked about it. Because we're always talking about man doing something with his daughter. We don't ever talk about what's going on with the son and the mother getting down. And this is never said, it was on Facebook, or a 20-year-old mother did something to the son. Now, see, that's another thing. We've gotten into violence against women, but men, they're part of that violence, and women get away with everything. See, the media has also created a lot of double standards. And this is why women can do what they want to do because of the media, and everybody knows it. The churches. And see, because you have a number of individuals who are on the left does not believe in law and order. That's why gun control, you're not going to keep guns away from the criminals. No way. This is why the Democrats, they're upset. They're calling Trump a terrorist for blowing up boats that are bringing fentanyl in this country. And the media is putting it out there like he's the criminal. Brandon Johnson, fat ass Pritzker in Chicago. And what they're doing is they're trying to turn it all racial. And they know them niggas are killing each other in Chicago and in Baltimore, Memphis, DC, Wilmington, Delaware, Richmond, Virginia, Charlotte, New York, Boston, Seattle, you name it. But black people are too stupid to understand that. Because black people have been so conditioned to be in one party. And that one party hasn't done anything for them. You don't have a number of individuals going in there in the hood. All these black people who are talking all this mess, they don't even live in the hood. They may have come from the hood, but did they go back? Hell no, they don't go back. Why? Because they don't want to go back to that chaos. But see, the mainstream media wants you to believe that they're helping blacks. And you have a number of these pro-blacks, even some of these Hebrew Israelites. I looked up some of them. They talk all like black power. It's all Marxism, communism. Everything is a derivative from Karl Marx. And see, when you want the bottom to run the top, you got individuals who aren't even capable of running their own lives. How are they going to run a workforce? That's what causes chaos. The Democrats, yeah, they want law and order if they can shut the other side down. Because it's the Democrats who've used the government to quiet the other side. And another Republican politician had been president other than Trump, we'd have the usual. Vinyls, rubber leg Republicans, they would be bowing down to the Democrats. They would be afraid to be called racist. They would be afraid to be called misogynist. See, now Trump was in power. Nobody cares about him. And this is why the right, they're not coming out there fighting the way the left does. So we know the left has always been violent because they can get away with it, because they can utilize racism. See, all these DEI uses, they can use it against whites. And you have some whites out here who are tired of it. I don't have any problems with whites. A lot of times white people aren't even thinking about us. But see, the mainstream media, if you look at the mainstream media, they put it out there differently. If you go to these colleges, go to these churches, you have these Hebrew Israelites, they're putting it out there like that. And they're using the Bible to invoke their Marxism. Because really, if you want to know who your real individuals, your real authoritarians are? It's the people on the left. The left wants to control every aspect of our lives so they benefit. And if you look at it, that's really why the Democrats want to win everything, because they want to keep their power. And if there would be anybody against term limits, it'd be the Democrats, because it's their gravy. The bottom line for Democrats, they believe in welfare. They don't want cuts. They want illegal immigration. See, the more degenerates that they get to vote for them, the longer they stay in power. So that's basically what it is. If you think about it, that's what the Democrats want. The Democrats love the cartels. And the drugs in the community, Democrats love that. They're putting it in the community. All they're doing is making the morticians rich. Because right now you're seeing a lot of parents burying children when children should be burying their parents. But that's what happens when you have very gullible people. Individuals don't know what they're getting themselves into. They turn on the TV, and the TV just spews nothing but lies. The proof. Look what happened over at CBS. I'm going to keep bringing it up. Kamala Harris, about Iran, she stumbled. Then when they went back to do an edit on, looks like 60 Minutes, cleaned it up. Trump sued. 16 million. And that's not enough. You look at Fannie Willis. You look at that other black woman, Keisha in New York. Mortgage fraud. She thinks she's got it made. Now, what I would like to see is Trump get some of these individuals in jail. And, I've been over Israel, but I can't always trust Israel either. And you have this media. Media encourages other countries to bring their flags here instead of the American flag. See, the media, education, churches, they promote the hatred of America. They don't like what America stands for. However, they benefit off of what America stands for. That's the problem. That is the hypocrisy, and that's why you can debunk everything that the left says, because the left has never made any concrete. They don't make any sense at all. The left, they're children. They're not real fighters. They just want to run in there and just take down individuals who can't defend themselves. Now they're going to use this one issue by saying, well, you had somebody that came in and shot up a bunch of people from the Pulse nightclub who live the alternative lifestyles. Now, I don't condone that behavior either. But you look at some of your trans, they're getting out there after being coerced that what they're doing is okay. A number of them believe in that social media. They're in Antifa. And they're going out here trying to hurt individuals who don't think like them. Well, they haven't felt enough tear gas yet. The tear gas out there, that'll tighten them up. These individuals are going out there militant, and the left has always been militant. Why do I say that? You look at your feminist women. A number of them came out burning their bras. Really a man-hating group. Really, they used equal rights, but no, it's the hatred of men. In other words, they became misandrous. But you don't hear the word misandrous in the mainstream media. In college, you hear misogyny, but you don't hear misandrous. That's the problem. And this is why one side can get away with everything. Because what it is, they can say, well, it's self-defense, but become a victim at the same time. Because that's what the Democrats and the left promote. They promote victimhood. And when you promote victimhood, that means individuals can cry wolf anytime, at any time, and be believed. They can do it at work, education, government, media, and religion. Those are the five power conferences of society. And the bottom line is the left has turned the five power conferences of society into chaos. And they believe in chaos. Why? Because what the left is, it's a bunch of degenerates. And when you give a degenerate some power, they don't know how to use it. I mean, you look at Occupy Wall Street, going against people who make a lot of money. Well, the Democrats don't encourage people to make a lot of money. They encourage degeneracy. But they'll tell you they want educated people. No, they want employees. They don't want owners of businesses. But when you watch the mainstream media that's run by the left, you go to college, you go to church, you're on a job. When you're at the bottom, here's what's going to happen. You're always going to go from being an employee to an employee. You're going to be on an hourly payroll. You're going to go from job to job, like I said, and you're always going to be miserable. Because, see, just being an employee, and that's what the Democrats want, slaves. In actuality, we don't have slavery anymore. What we have is slavery in the mind. And it's not just Black people, it's a number of individuals who have allowed themselves to be indoctrinated by the left in this country. And they think they're right. They think just because they have an opinion, they're trying to tell somebody off. But meanwhile, they don't do any research. They're gullible people. They're children. They have a number of mental issues. And in the end, they want to benefit off of the working people of this country, but at the same time, they want to be victims. In other words, they want their cake and eat it too. Why? Because these individuals don't live in the real world. And when you don't live in the real world and you're gullible, live the lies, you're always going to end up on a plantation. And when you're on a plantation, you're always a slave. And slaves don't own anything. Slaves are the workers. This is why the Democrats want illegals. Keep saying they won't have anybody to clean your toilets. Clean your own damn toilet. But in the end, the mainstream media, the government, religion, jobs, and education, they're all indoctrination camps. keep people at bay. And to keep people at bay. You see, the leftists at top, they have all the power. And they stay in power by utilizing all of the degenerates, the drones. And in the end, the Democrats and the leftists don't care about you when you're not an elitist. Because in the end, when Democrats talk about poor, they talk about class, they talk about race. The bottom line is the Democrats believe in controlling. I'm talking about the left-wing Democrats. Because if you are a moderate Democrat, oh, they're going to put you in over there with the Republicans. And this is why they try to use the reverse psychology by calling people on the right the violent and the degenerates. When in essence, we already see who's performing all the violence and who's encouraging it. The five powers of society. And they are the media, government, jobs, education, and religion. Five power conferences of society will always be controlled by the Marxists, and they're your elites. Because what they want to live off of everybody's blood, sweat, tears. Listen here, listen up. The chickens where you leftists have come home to roost. Why did I say that? Because you're losing power every day. This Charlie Kirk situation has really gotten you running for the hills. But in the end, number of you leftists are not going to change because you don't believe in the people. You don't even like this country. You just want to benefit off this country. Because in the end, you all do nothing but lie. And the people that you want to follow you are degenerates. Because degenerates easy to control. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And want some STEM content, check out my second channel, the QCIS channel. We're on that channel. You get a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, here's where you can find me. For the 401 Talk Zone radio show, you can find me right here on YouTube, X formerly Twitter, Rumble, and Truth Social. And for the QCIS channel, find me on YouTube, X formerly Twitter, and LinkedIn. And doing this video, not here to offend anybody, but you have a lot of jealousy out here in every race. I'm going to always say this. The people that are offended, the people that are jealous, you need to hear this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. And if you don't like the shoe, change it. And once again, Thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Song Radio Show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.